Hello guys, welcome back to the podcast. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm joined with Jason, as per usual.
Good afternoon.
And then we're joined with one of our base members, Jazz. We were just discussing before the podcast how I was going to introduce her. She has many titles. She's a plant-based chef. This is what we just discussed. Plant-based chef, personal trainer. So she's a base member. Lots of titles. How are you doing, Jazz? You all right?
I'm fabulous. How are you, Ben? And Jace?
I'm good.
I'm great. I'm very excited. I'm really excited because we are going to learn so much in the next 45 minutes. And I love learning.
Give you as much as I can without overwhelming you.
Cool.
It'll be great. Cool.
So the reason we invited Jazz on the podcast is because after our podcast with Shana, the big takeaway was making better choices. And having spoken to Jazz previously many times about health, nutrition, well-being, Jazz always surprised me of all these other choices that I had no clue about, and exposed me to so many different ingredients and options. And as now I'm exploring some of them, not all of them, it's definitely some of them. I thought it'd be really interesting for our listeners, for our members, for anyone listening, just to maybe learn from Jazz as well. So essentially the podcast is on healthy alternatives. And awesome. We're just going to dive straight into it. We've got a nice long list and we're going to see where Jazz takes us. Me and Ben will jump in as we can and rock and roll. Ben,
awesome.
Happy?
Yeah. Sounds great.
Right, Jazz,
cool.
hit us off with your number one. Oh no,
number
we
one.
need to do intros. We have not done intros.
Yeah, I was going to say I might just do a little intro before, just so people kind of like understand how I kind of got to where I am today. And how my health and wellness journey kind of progressed. So I grew up with my mum. She is an amazing cook. And I was lucky enough kind of to always be exposed to the healthier kind of alternatives, a little bit more vegetarian based, but still definitely incorporating the meat, the meat in the diet. Fitness wise, like I actually rode horses my whole life. I don't know if you guys knew that.
No,
I didn't know that.
And just did running. Like I loved running at school. But otherwise I'm a horsey girl through and through. So
nice.
All through primary school, high school, and then it wasn't until after I left high school. I was always running and eating very healthily. But leaving high school, probably the start of it was I joined. Just so I joined Ashy Bynes boot camp. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. She's Australian-based. Ashy Bynes boot camp, ABBC. Ashy Bynes boot, yeah. So it was an all-woman boot camp run, and that kind of like really spiked my interest in fitness, more so into like leading into bodybuilding, doing a fitness competition, running a half marathon, almost running a half marathon. So I was super obsessed. I went through an obsessive kind of stage in terms of clean eating, so that was what Ashy Bynes was an advocate for, is clean eating. So nothing processed, nothing artificial. 6 really like strict meals a day. And it kind of, I suppose that was my unhealthy relationship with food and exercise. I was running like 10K a day plus 6-day boot camp, like 6 days a week boot camp. So it was like excessive. I wasn't listening, like I was super fit and I was really healthy. I definitely wasn't short on food. But I just, like, my friends would always say, why don't you drink? Why don't you just like have a slice of pizza? Why don't you do this? And I didn't drink for almost a year. And this was like when I was 20. So it's, you know, all your friends are drinking, going out, doing this. And basically I was just like so involved in fitness, trained for a half marathon. And then it was like an unexpected, so back in Australia, I should have said that. I'm from Australia. So I grew up.
Yeah, if you couldn't guess already, guys.
Kind of a dead giveaway. So this southeast coast of Melbourne, it was a really hot day and it wasn't kind of meant to be. And I actually only made it, so through this race, it was like a cross country kind of half marathon, but I actually only made it to like 19 kilometers. And then I passed out and I was in an ambulance, like in an ambulance when I woke up, was in Geelong Hospital overnight. And that was kind of a big wake up call because, so I had severe minor kidney failure and severe dehydration. And my mum, I just remember her saying, like, you know, you literally almost killed your body, like, just because you, I don't know, it was like all these things were building up. And yeah, it was probably like somewhat to do with an unhealthy, like I said, like a socially unhealthy relationship with food, exercise. I was probably a bit underweight, but not, like I said, not from food, just over exercising. The next big thing, so going on, I entered a bodybuilding competition, and I suppose like the dehydration thing was, it was a couple of years on from the marathon, but I think because of like the kidney and the organ thing, the depletion of water before, I don't know if you guys have done like that, 24-hour no water. I suffered, like, after that, really painful organs. So again, that was like another implication, and I'm like, I'm not doing, like, I'm going all in, but I was just doing it the wrong way and too much for my body, like just overdoing it basically. Almost finished with the intro. So then I just like took a complete turnaround. I went traveling to Europe for 6.5 months, like had the best time ever. And it kind of just brought me back to reality. Like, of course I had a good time. I met heaps of people, was like being a normal person, drinking, not overdoing it, but just like balance. Like balance is so important. And then I just one day was literally like, I want to start a food blog. And I was obviously really invested in health and well-being. Just like I started an Instagram account, I think it was back in 2014, 15. So J Nourish evolved, which is my brand now. That evolved, and it was just a mood board for food. And then then I was just like really getting really creative with all kinds of like desserts. I love recreating healthy kind of desserts. Then started noticing a few like health brands, tagging them, and then that led to like working and being an ambassador for a few amazing companies in Australia, taking photos for them and creating recipes. So now, then I moved from Melbourne to Byron, Byron Bay in Australia. I worked at a vegan cafe there. Met Jack, my partner now, or fiance, and he's from the UK, so North Devon, born and bred. And we quickly decided that we'd only been dating for like 3.5 months, I think, living together for like 6. But yeah, he was my housemate. Now he's my fiance. And we just decided to move to the UK. So that's why I'm here. I hope you guys kind of got like the whole story of my involvement. I'm a vegan or plant-based chef, not vegan. A plant-based chef at YoTown. So it's a health retreat here in North Devon. And love it. It's great. I've learned so much, like from my last almost 2 years here, and just working in that kind of environment. Yeah, and that's
So
where I am today.
I think we're all in safe hands. She's well qualified and experienced, everyone. That is a dead cert. Cool.
I guess why I wanted to go into detail is like a background of my story. I'm not just like, I don't just eat vegan or plant-based meals because I'm, you know, against animal cruelty. I'm this, of course that's not just, but it's because I've tried the bodybuilding style of eating. I've done low carb, I've done paleo, I've done it all, like, and clearly it wasn't working for my body. And when moving to Byron Bay, I actually, before I started at the vegan cafe, I worked at an Ayurvedic health retreat just for I think it was 12 days. So I was like sous chefing along with this lady, and Ayurveda, I don't know if anyone, here we are, don't know if anyone has heard of it, but it is actually the oldest health system known to man. So it's like 8,000 plus years old. Every single health system we know to this day stemmed from Ayurveda. So if you don't know much about it, and I will give you like little bits today, but if you don't, please look into it, because like it was before Chinese medicine, before Greece, everything. So it's it means the science of life. So it's a health science system, and it's a sister science of yoga. So yeah.
I did not know that.
It's a deep conversation.
It is.
Definitely, it could be a whole 4 or 5 podcasts within itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, like, everyone knows about yoga, don't they? Like, yoga is one of the most popular forms of restorative kind of exercise. But it's actually, Ayurveda is the sister science of yoga, and it's the way that they live their life, the morals, the principles, the beliefs, everything. So look into it. Shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it. So Jazz, just set us off with your first discussion point.
Cool. So as we said, it's all about making better choices and healthy alternatives in your life. The first one isn't like a specific food, but I really want to incorporate it because I'm learning a lot about it at the moment, and it's really interesting. And it's so simple. Like, everything, I think, is overcomplicated. We just need to bring everything back to basics, and it's following the circadian rhythm. So the cycles of, obviously, the sun, the moon, the whole universe. But basically, light is a big part in that. So sleep and eating. So your sleep cycles and your eating, I think, are like 2 of the most important things that, and the times kind of that we eat. The 2 most important things that, if you get those right, and in Ayurveda, they like strongly believe if you get the portions, the times you exercise, and your sleep right, then everything else falls into place. Okay. So like weight loss, weight management, all illnesses and things like that. So getting to bed by latest 10 p.m. is super important. So we want to get like at least minimum 3, if not 5 REM cycles in our sleep. So an REM is I just said it before, restless eye movement, is that rapid eye movement? Rapid eye movement, that's it. And it's actually between these cycles. So the first one starts off to be like a 10-minute cycle, and that's when you're dreaming and most active. But it's actually between the cycles. So this is why the more cycles, the better. The rest and repair happens. Your immune system is strengthened. And and basically you're just recovering your body. So if you're going to bed after 10 p.m., you're kind of like defying the Ayurvedic clock. It ticks over in 4-hour segments of the doshas, so Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which are times that represent like any kind of I'm trying to think, holistic practice. They represent air, fire, and water. There are the other kind of elements in there as well. But yeah, in these cycles, the 10 p.m. till 2 p.m., so that's kind of like after you should already be asleep, that's represented by Pitta. So Pitta is like a Pitta person is really fiery. It's like your active kind of time, the time you should be working, but you don't want to be awake in these times, because then your melatonin levels will drop, your sleep will be decreased, and yeah, basically you're not going to follow the whole like getting all those sleep cycles. Daddy.
Don't know, I'm on a podcast. You come and see me in a minute.
So cute. Hello.
Flo, I've got to go, darling.
Hey, Flo.
Off you go, please. Off you go. Thank you. Sorry, Jazz, carry on.
Oh, no, you're fine. So, and then waking up before 6 a.m. So if you have to get up at 6 a.m., then set your alarm 5:55, 5:58, 5:59 before 6 a.m. because I actually was just reading about this the other day, and I said to Jack so many times before I found this out, I was like, I always wake up so much fresher when I wake up earlier, like before 6, and when I wake up after 6 or like 7, 8, 9, then I wake up really groggy and heavy, and that's because we're going from 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. is the Kapha period. So the slow, the heavy, it's represented by water. You want to wake your system up in that time. So that's the time to exercise. Like the best time for anyone to exercise is in the Kapha period, or from 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. Because basically you want to start your metabolism. Yeah. You want to, kickstart the body.
That's cool.
And then I'll go into, so that's kind of like my, learnings on the sleep. And then there's the eating. So eating in Ayurveda, the proverb is, you aren't what you eat, you are what you digest and absorb. Yeah. So I think that is so important to kind of think about when you choose what you're eating. And this is the thing, like plant-based eating, it's just easier to absorb. Like our body can break down plants so much easier than meats. It's just lighter on the system. And that's, I suppose, why it depends on how easy or high your metabolism is, how easy you digest foods. That is why we should eat lighter meals at nighttime. And upon wakening, unless you're when you eat breakfast, after you exercise, unless you're super hungry, it should be quite a bit not too big of a meal and not too heavy meal. So lunchtime is probably the best time to eat your biggest meal, to eat it
big meal at lunch. Really
mindfully. Because when the sun is in the sky the highest, so at noontime, that's when our metabolism, or Agni, so that's what they call it in Sanskrit, Agni, or digestive fire, that's when it's at its highest and its strongest.
Okay.
So that's working with your circadian rhythm.
And just a little back off that, sorry. Are there any prescriptions of macros? I'm not percentages. So one of the things that I've explored with is having more protein
Yep.
before bed to induce like this parasympathetic nervous system, which is then it's like rest digest.
Yeah.
Does that does the Ayurvedic, does that go into that at all? Is it any combinations?
To be honest, they don't really like specify macronutrients and micronutrients. Of course they incorporate it all, but it's all about digestibility and eating whole foods, eating whole grains. So for instance, a khichdi, I did a demonstration live the other day, is basmati rice and mung beans. So they do focus a lot, and lots of the recipes are they have legumes and lentils, but mung beans or mung dal are the highest in protein. And when basmati rice and the mung beans are joined like in the one dish, it's a complete protein. So they mainly just basically specify to to eat kind of how you feel good as well. And that's to eat what makes you feel good, what makes you feel nourished, what makes you feel alive. And all the foods that they kind of describe foods as like heating, cooling. So things like coconut water, coconut or anything coconut, coriander, trying to think, cucumber, greens, like your bitters, they're all cooling foods. So when in summer and when you like might feel a bit aggravated as well inside, like stressed or like anxious, maybe not anxious, but kind of like burning up inside, you feel overheated, then incorporating those foods into it to nourish the system. And then there's warming foods. So in winter, spices like cinnamon, ginger and some chilies, depending how you kind of react with chilies, incorporating those, and root vegetables, so grounding vegetables into your diet, and well cooked, then that's a warming thing. So it's all about, it's kind of like macrobiotics, like the Japanese method. It's more like that ancient philosophy.
Nice.
So and basically they just say like eating, if you have a plate with rice, lentils, vegetables, and like yogurt or fermented foods, something like that, you're going to get everything you need from that. So that's kind of how it works.
Perfect. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
What about go no, I'm going. So I'm a typical coffee morning, a coffee person. First thing we do every morning is we brew a coffee.
Okay.
Me and my wife love it. We love the smell. So look, one of the alternatives for coffee or caffeine. What do you do, Jazz?
Okay, so I love matcha, but that is because, and I've given you the spiel about matcha before. It's still...
Ben, do you know what matcha is?
Yeah, I love matcha.
Okay, cool.
Matcha is great. So matcha is a...
there we go.
Here we go. It's a green tea powder. So it's the whole green tea leaves ground into a powder. It's got about 130 times more antioxidants than like any other food on the planet, or it's kind of along the same lines of like the spirulina and things like that. It has about, so in a teaspoon of matcha has about 30 to 40 milligrams of caffeine, whereas coffee has about 80 to 180 depending on how much milligram a teaspoon. So obviously it's going to give you less of a spike, but that is also because of the L-theanine, so the amino acid in that whole ground tea leaf. It's amino acid, which makes I'm trying to think. It just makes everything kind of like more balanced. You don't get the jitters like you do with coffee. You've still got like the focus and the concentration. So that's what I do in the morning. But if you do, so I've got a couple of alternatives. So that obviously matcha is one of them, but chicory root is one. Have you heard of that?
Nope.
No.
No. Wow. It's in Holland and Barrett, so you can get it just down the road. But chicory root, it belongs to the dandelion family. We actually have it at the retreat, but yeah, my mum's had it in the house like since I was younger as well. It's it's the root of a plant. It's little blue flowers on the actual plant, and it's a prebiotic fiber. So it's actually 68% inulin. Do you know what inulin is? Yes.
No,
Nope.
sorry, Jazz.
No idea.
Keep going.
Yeah. Inulin is, it's like I'm trying to think. It is, I can't even think of the word. Okay, so it's a prebiotic fiber, and it doesn't digest into our bloodstream. It's like a fiber that kind of goes through you.
Yeah.
Whole way through. I'm very scienced over here. But so chicory root, the reason I suggest that is because it tastes just like coffee, but it's a lot sweeter. So inulin is like a really sweet powder, and they actually use chicory root as a sweetener in some food and drink kind of like substitutes as well. It's a short chain fructose kind of molecule that your body doesn't absorb. It can speed up your digestive system as well. It reduces inflammation, and it's really good for your gut as well.
We need to get some of this, Ben.
Yeah,
We'll get some in the office at the gym.
You say it's part of the dandelion family.
Yeah.
I wonder, there's that drink that's like called like dandelion burdock. I wonder if it's in that at all. I'm pretty sure that's like a soda.
So you can actually get dandelion root coffee as well.
Okay.
Like as a coffee alternative, but you could try that. I think it's just very, have you ever eaten dandelion leaves or flowers in salads? Okay, so
Probably
you're not a forager.
But
Pardon?
Probably accidentally when I was a kid, but
but they're really astringent and like quite sharp tasting. And that's kind of what the dandelion root coffee is, opposed to the chicory root. It's like very bitter. So I think the chicory root, if you were to kind of transition, it's a nicer transition, and just popping like a bit of oat milk or something in there. Yeah, you just kind of make it like an instant coffee.
So like
it's really nice.
Before like COVID-19 hit, I was doing a month of no caffeine, wasn't I? I was doing no coffee.
You were.
I remember that.
So I would pick Jazz up on the way to work, on the way to our session. And she would give me a matcha, and she'd make me a matcha latte. And it was lovely.
Matcha latte. I was introduced to one for the first time like about a year and a half ago or a year ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's the best thing I've ever had. Nice.
They're so good, isn't it? It's amazing. Yeah,
definitely. It's a great alternative, without a doubt. For me,
if you still want the caffeine,
if you want the caffeine, me and Livy, we just really like the taste of coffee at the moment. Also like having different blends. So I think that it's something that we know, and we're not addicted to caffeine at all. I know I can wake up tomorrow, and I know I can do it because I did it.
You want the decaf coffee then?
No, not at all. But like, and then COVID-19 hit, and then everything just changed, and I was back on the coffee every morning.
I love the taste of coffee. Sorry,
I know you do. I know. We make them for you girls in the morning when we were back at the gym, weren't we?
Yeah, you do.
We'd have a little morning coffee.
Another thing that you can do if you aren't like super tolerant to coffee, like I am, something you can pair coffee with is like a medicinal mushroom powder. So mushrooms like reishi. Reishi's the best one. Cordyceps, lion's mane. There's another one, chaga. So reishi and chaga are probably the more common. You can actually, I picked up a thing of reishi from Boots yesterday, and they've got a few different like herbs. Yeah, Boots, the pharmacy on Main Street. Yeah, so pairing one of those adaptogenics. So medicinal mushrooms are adaptogens. Do you know what an adaptogen is? And maybe because I told you. Yeah.
No.
So an adaptogen is a herb that actually regulates your cortisol levels. And this is why some people kind of do have that high and that crash and burn from coffee, is because their adrenal glands and their cortisol is just like spiking and then crashing. And that's exactly what happens to me. I had adrenal fatigue was diagnosed about 3 or 4 years ago now. And yeah, I think like that's probably one reason why I'm super sensitive to coffee, but also I heard a thing the other day. So if children before puberty have any type of caffeine, they actually have this, it's like sensitivity to caffeine that basically gives them that. So parents, don't feed your kids caffeine before they hit puberty.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's
Jason's
actually,
looking worried.
he's like, oh, no more
loves
matcha.
to find my dregs.
Oh no. Yeah.
Perfect.
So pairing a coffee with half or like quarter of a teaspoon, half a teaspoon of an adaptogen or a mushroom powder is an amazing way just to level you out and kind of make the coffee a little bit like less harsh on the system. Yeah.
So and that you could just buy from any health food store, and it's just like a teaspoon in that type of.
I'd probably even go like a quarter to a half a teaspoon.
Okay.
So there's a brand which is amazing, called Four Sigmatic. They do a 10 blend, and I think there's another one called seven something, I can't remember. It's on Amazon, but always try and get organic everything and anything. But organic mushroom powder, you can either look it up. The reishi is really good for calming, and you can look up the different benefits of the mushroom powders. Like some are better before bedtime, some are better for they've got loads of different benefits. But
cool.
Organic and just pharmacy or cool. So
what about chocolate? I love chocolate.
My favourite.
Last night, be honest with everything. Livy was out. I was there working on social media posts, and I smashed a bar of chocolate.
A whole bar?
What chocolate was it?
It was like I think it was probably like a Waitrose, like a thin Waitrose dark chocolate. You know, something like that.
Stuff.
Yeah, it was just bang done within a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
nice. Waitrose, nice. Living the high life, Gates.
Oh god.
My wife's from St Albans.
Okay.
So that means nothing
Jazz,
to me.
Well, it's just a poshish part of Hertfordshire. So Jazz, tonight I'm going to eat something, but it's not going to be chocolate. So what am I going to do? Talk to me.
You don't want to eat chocolate? Why not? If I give you the perfect substitute.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. Okay, so the main thing about chocolate is chocolate bars are not good for us because they have milk and sugar in them, and they also probably 95% of them contain cocoa. So cocoa is basically just a completely dead form, same kind of taste, but like dead, nothing good for you chocolate. So if you're going to buy a cocoa powder or like a chocolate kind of powder, opt for cacao. So it's CACAO. And that is probably like one of the best things you can do, and swaps you can make in your pantry is if you want to have a hot chocolate or something, make it from scratch and make it from cacao powder. So Jack and I have a hot chocolate almost every night, because I am like 100% chocolate is my biggest downfall. It's my kryptonite. I love it, but I love it because of how good it is for me, the raw cacao powder. So the difference between them is cocoa is basically both them come from a cocoa bean, and then the cocoa butter, the fatty part, what you kind of make chocolate out of, like the fatty part, is taken away, and then they're fermented, and the cocoa is roasted at a really high temperature, and that's where all your minerals have been lost. Like they're completely killed, basically. And that's the thing with like most food and drinks. It's basically just been highly processed so that we lose all the nutritional benefits. And that's why I do what I do, and why I so strongly believe in what I do, is because I use ingredients that are nutritionally dense. So they've got all the minerals, they've got all the nutrients. I'm not depriving of my body of like this thing that I'm told is good for me, like chocolate, but it's not. So real cacao, it has flavonoids, antioxidants, iron, magnesium, fiber. So it's really good for our skin. It's good for headaches. It enhances your moods.
Sex drive.
Yep, that's another one. I was like, should I add that one in?
No. Hey, we do organic raw cacao every night.
Amazing. Good.
Didn't want to know that.
That's awesome. It boosts your metabolism, and it's so full of goodness. And when you're choosing a chocolate bar or a chocolate, please make sure it's got cacao in it. There's a few brands here in the UK. So Ombar, do you know the brand Ombar?
No.
Loving Earth. So Ombar is probably the most common. I know they've got it at like the garden centre, St. John's Garden Centre. You know that little fruit and veg shop there?
Yeah.
They sell it there. Nourish in Braunton has they've got Loving Earth. They've got Panna chocolate. So those two are from Australia. But Ombar is from the UK. But basically, chocolate that has cacao in it will generally always be vegan anyway. And it just doesn't have any sugar. Maybe it's got a bit of cocoa butter, cacao, like coconut milk. But that's going to be the best option. And obviously dark is great. If you can't find any like from those kind of stores, then just getting like a really dark block of chocolate that doesn't have any sugar in it, but raw cacao powder, and then making your own chocolate as well, or like chocolate bark, chocolate squares is really easy, or chocolate bliss balls. Hot chocolate. So that is my substitute. Chocolate is not bad for you, but if you choose the wrong thing, then you're just basically getting no benefits.
And again, like you can pick up like raw cacao powder from any good whole food shop, can't you? Like it's it's not like a new thing. This is
absolutely not.
Like, it's very accessible. One that,
it is.
Everyone should be playing around with, definitely. So we
in terms of like
flow. Oh yeah, go.
No,
you do it.
Go. Oh, okay. In terms of like affordability around here, Grapetree in Green Lanes is amazing, and I get a lot of my like specialty kind of ingredients from there. Probably I think it's like a kilo of cacao powder, or 500 grams maybe. I can't remember, but it's only a few pounds. Like it's amazing, so good. And they've got things like tiger nut flour, which probably no one has heard of, but
I have Jazz.
You have, because you've got my ebook, my cookbook. Yeah, they've got some really amazing ingredients and all really affordable. Touch on tiger nut flour. So it's a flour, and tiger nuts are actually tiny root vegetables that are really sweet in nature. They make horchata in Spain from it. So horchata is like a sweet, milky, it's kind of like a lassi, but a Spanish lassi. So tiger nuts are really versatile. I make cookies. I make like the best banana bread out of tiger nut flour.
That's what I had.
Yeah, I know. I think you guys have. Livy's made it, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to add much sweetness at all when you're baking or making anything. I just actually made some before this cookie dough batter. Just Jack's like, what are you gonna do with them? Like, you just eat it like this. Out of tiger nut flour and chickpeas, maple syrup, cinnamon, and cacao nibs. So there you go. That was and that's all it was. And a bit of salt.
You're a bit like Mary Poppins of the kitchen, I reckon. when you must have like a lorry full of ingredients. You know, like you left Yotown recently because you were staying there, and now we're back at Jack's. You must have had like, you know, like 2 or 3 trips just to carry.
Okay, can I just show you? This is
show and tell
we
if
have
you can.
some stuff in the but like this, and this is full of all my secret ingredients.
Secrets.
Yep. No, because I don't want to load up the cupboard. So yeah, all my specialty baking like ingredients are in there.
So we need to get someone in Jack's house and steal them and find what we can. So one of the things that like I know me and a lot of people struggle with is like preparing or just having like food ready to go when I'm at home. You know, so like I'm just hungry, but I can't eat a full meal because I've got whatever going on. What are like your go-to snacks?
On the go snacks.
Better choices. Yeah, on the go snacks, or like things that I can prepare and take with me. You got any like top tips for us for that?
Yeah, sure thing. So Powerballs are my go-to. I think if anyone's been to the 51 Degrees North stall, I used to make quite a lot of Powerballs, or energy balls, bliss balls, whatever you want to call them, for Justin there. Yeah, Justin. So they are simply like they're so easy to make. You can make them anywhere from like 3 ingredients to 13 ingredients, depending what you want to put in them. But yeah, they're basically just dried dates, simple ones, nuts, and maybe dates, nuts, and like cacao powder. That would be like the very most basic one for a chocolate bliss ball or something on the go. And then you can add, like, you can make green kind of, matcha superfood spirulina ones. You can add like spices. I love making chai latte kind of balls. So adding things like cinnamon, ginger, cardamom, nutmeg, or like your Chinese 5-spice mix. So they're so adaptable and so easy. If you don't want to roll them all up, you just press it into a pan and then slice them into little squares. So they're probably my go-to. I'm usually, if you guys want to check out my website or my Instagram, I'm always putting out little recipes and just like simple snack recipes there as well. And then obviously my ebooks, I've got them there. Things like chia jam. So making fresh jam out of chia seeds and berries, and it's just like a 2-ingredient, or you can add some cinnamon for some sweetness as a substitute for a jam spread. So no sugar. It has the same consistency of jam because of the chia seeds. So they have like a gelatinous layer around them when they are paired with anything wet. If you've had a chia pudding or you've had anything like that. So literally just like 2 tablespoons of chia seeds with maybe like a punnet of berries and just like a little hand mixer. You blend it up and wait 15 minutes at the most, just so all the chia seeds can like develop that jelly consistency. That's a really good way as well. Good for the kids, good on pancakes, toast, anything. Yeah, on your cereal. What else? Hummus. So if you have a food processor, so easy, hummus and like sticks. But I find like an even quicker, easier way is, instead of a food processor, again, like that hand blender, stick blender. They are so easy. So just
pestle
like
and mortar. Is that what it's called?
Might be there a while.
Maybe pesto, but not for a hummus.
No,
But
okay.
you can try. Let me know how it goes. Yeah, so
Nice.
just using a hand blender, and obviously chickpeas, but you don't have to use chickpeas if you don't have them on hand. And that's another thing I really try and like express to people. I'm like, if you don't have something, just use, and here we are talking about alternatives, but use an alternative. If you want to make a pesto and you don't have basil, use coriander, use spinach leaves, use some other herbs. It doesn't use rocket. Like, you don't have to be restricted. I suppose I'm one of those people. I've never followed a recipe from start to finish ever in my life. Like,
I'm exactly the same.
Yeah, and I really enjoy that way of cooking. It's like, okay, cool, I know the gist of it, but I'm gonna add what I think, or like intuitively what I want to add to this meal. So instead of using chickpeas, you could use like cannellini beans or butter beans. Butter beans are really nice. They've got like really buttery flavor. Clove of garlic, cumin, paprika, olive oil. Whiz it up, easy. Lemon juice.
I'm gonna make some tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna. I reckon we've got all that in the cupboard. I've never made my own homemade hummus.
Yummy. Also, like chips or crisps. You guys call crisps. Yes, crisps. You can make those, or like obviously chips, like wedges, things, like some coconut oil, avocado oil, whatever, and cover them, make your own. So you can just use a veggie peeler to make crisps.
There's some nice suggestions there. Like we've definitely played with like power balls or energy balls.
Cool.
They're great, and it's something that like if you do on a Sunday, you've got a handful. You know, you've got enough for a good week or two.
Totally, it's such a nice Sunday thing. Like doing your meal prep day, having snacks, or like if you're not hungry at breakfast time, maybe just having a power ball or making like a raw flapjack, same kind of thing.
That's definitely like a real immediate action someone could take. That would just help
absolutely
keep
Get
away
creative with it.
The bad habits.
Yeah, it's nice to have free reign in the kitchen, like not feeling restricted to a recipe and just being like, I want to get creative and make something.
Yeah, I love to do that. Not many people know, but I love to cook and I love to bake and stuff.
Well,
nice.
What's you cooked roast dinner, didn't you, this year?
Oh yeah, I make Christmas roast dinner at my house. I'm quite big on it. I just keep it very well hidden.
Oh, amazing!
But I'm the same though. I don't follow any recipes. I'm very big on make it work. The only issue with that though is when I make something really good and then I don't know how I've done it, so I don't measure anything. I go by eye. I'm very like.
Oh my god.
So I end up making some stuff, but then can never make it the same again.
You're telling me. Like, people are always asking me for recipes, or like when I wrote my last 2 ebooks, that was the hardest thing. I was like, I know how to make it, and then I was like, now I have to write the recipes so people can make it too. I'm just like, Oh, it was the hardest thing.
Yeah.
It was so hard. I had to make and measure, and I was like, but you know, I'm just a free pourer. Yeah. Mm.
But one of the things that we spoke about with Shana was whole grain. No, sorry, high and low GI foods, and then that will link nicely into like whole grain options and like white flour options. So one of the things we wanted to talk about is we mentioned tiger flour,
Tiger nuts.
tiger nut. Sorry, which is
Yep.
sorry. So just can you dive into like alternatives, like different whole grain options?
Yeah, of course, of
That would
course.
be something that we're exploring. Definitely, Livy's trying to push more options onto us, and having you explain them all will definitely help me.
Nice, awesome. So I mean, it's becoming very common now, but quinoa is something that we have a lot. Jack and I have all the time. So quinoa, you can get it in red, you can get it in white or multicolored. It is, yeah, like there's little, it kind of looks like between a seed and a rice thing. But making quinoa porridge as well is delicious. So if you cook some quinoa just normally, and then you literally just heat it up with a bit of, I like doing it with coconut milk, and some spices like cinnamon, cardamom pods. That's delicious. Or we always, probably one of like the most go-to breakfast here is just overnight oats, so like a turmeric latte flavored overnight oats, but mixing some quinoa into the oats, so you're getting lots of different grains as well, and then that becomes the complete protein, like I said, or things like buckwheat. So I did a post the other day about buckwheat groats, they're called. So they're actually the seeds. They're not a grain as such, but they're actually the seeds of a flower. But they've got loads of iron and obviously fiber. But just like mixing up your grains, and steel cut oats or like whole jumbo oats are the best options opposed to porridge oats. So they've got twice as much whole grains in them. And just like the more whole the grain is, the slower release and like the longer release of energy. Exactly what Shana was saying. The other day. Yeah. So they're great, like steel cut oats or the bigger kind of oats. Brown basmati rice, or sorry.
No, carry on.
Or then just switching up your rice like colors as well. So like wild rice, it's like a long grain black kind of color. That's really nice. It's got like a nutty kind of flavor. What else? Quinoa flakes, if you wanted to like cook your porridge with that.
I'm intrigued about this porridge. So we do overnight oats. We do overnight oats. But I've never used quinoa.
I've done it a few times.
Yeah, or like we always add chia seeds as well. So chia seeds into it, grated apple or like a mashed banana. So then in terms of flours, depending if you want like the sweeter kind of option, tiger nut works really well if you're using baking or cooking something sweet, as I explained. Spelt flour or buckwheat flour are really great. So they're also really good for people that have like IBS or any inflammatory kind of things in their gut. So it has an anti-inflammatory effect on the gut. So it's more easily absorbed. And I think just like, it's not wheat that's the bad guy. Wheat was good once upon a time, but as I said, it just comes back to how much we process, like the mass production of everything. And sadly, wheat and corn have like, they're one of our biggest what's it called? Production of grains, and they've just been absolutely. Like there's no nutritional benefit anymore, and our bodies haven't evolved fast enough
Yeah.
for all this modification and this like genetic modification that
Yeah.
has happened to those kind of grains. So yeah, I think like mixing it up and trying to steer clear of wheat is definitely a good option.
Nice. What have we got? Let's go. What about one of the things you know lots on is like using all like the different herbs, fruits and spices, like, and how they all mix together to give this wonderful concoction of health and fitness. So like what are your like your go-to remedies? You know, I know we've spoke about in the past. You know, you've definitely helped. So like what are your go-to remedies? What are some of the things you use yourself or you can help our members?
Yeah. So probably the most simple, and I'm sure everyone has heard it before, but the most simple thing, and if anyone could take one thing away, it's implementing into your morning routine warm water with lemon and ginger. So as I was saying, lemon and ginger. You can add things like turmeric in there as well, some cinnamon. So they're spices, Ayurvedically speaking, that help to wake up the agni, the fire, the metabolism. They help to, the lemon juice is, of course, it's an acidic fruit, but it actually is alkaline. So it levels the pH of your body. It helps to kind of, just kickstart and detox all your cells and organs and just help everything get going. So that's one thing. For headaches.
Sorry, can I go to
yes.
ginger? Ginger, you're like chopping it into a chunk, putting it in, you're grating it. What are you doing with it?
Yeah, anything really.
Anything like
you can do slices. You could do ground ginger if you didn't have fresh ginger as well. Slices, grate it. Anything that works for you.
Yeah.
And just even carrying around like throughout the day. So again, Ayurveda. They say that drinking warm liquids, like almost every liquid should be warm that you're drinking or hot, and especially if you are more inclined to having a slower digestion or metabolism. Unless you're like boiling hot on a summer's day, then obviously like coconut water, something that's got electrolytes and it's cooling, that's really great. But if you do want to help like your body digest everything, absorb everything, then drinking warm water with or like green tea as well, tea with cumin seeds, coriander seeds, and fennel seeds. So those 3 seeds in a hot water, drinking those throughout the day, it helps with detoxification, metabolism. It helps with like fluid retention as well, with gas and flatulence in your stomach. So it sounds really weird. It's like, am I drinking a curry or? But yeah, I've done it for the last few weeks, and especially if I feel like I've got a little bit of an upset stomach, with a slice of ginger in there as well. So that's a common thing that most people know, ginger for like travel sickness or an upset stomach. It just helps to calm. And spices are so they're so concentrated. They're amazing. They're like our superfoods, you know. We can add them to almost anything, and they just have such a benefit. Yeah, all around the world they use different spices for so many different things. So what else? I'm trying to think. Indigestion or like heartburn, any acid reflux. So that can come from a few things. Eating too late at night and too heavy at night is probably one of the most common things for indigestion. And basically overeating is like the first thing for indigestion or heartburn. So chewing cumin seeds really helps for that. Papaya is really good as well, like papaya juice. Yeah, but chewing on cumin seeds, and again, that blend that I said before, the cumin, the fennel,
Yeah.
ginger, just help, like warm water and little sips, not like chugging it, just like every 20 minutes, a few sips of water. Yeah, that's a great way to help improve. Ginseng as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ginseng
My
root.
mother-in-law gives me that.
Nice.
She makes she just tells me to drink it. I just drink it.
Yeah, cool.
Why?
And how do you
Why?
feel?
I don't notice any different, but
Yeah.
You're going to tell me there's going to be some great
There
insights.
is.
So what is ginseng? How does it work?
So, okay, I can't give you like the whole scientific background of it, but
No, of course I
ginseng
don't need
is,
that.
it's a root, so ginseng
Yeah.
root of a plant, the ginseng plant. But it's really good for fatigue, and like endurance, and also adrenal fatigue. Yeah, adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
So helping support your adrenals, your whole endocrinic system as well. Yeah, ginseng is amazing, and that's like ashwagandha and ginseng. So ashwagandha is another adaptogenic herb.
Yeah.
That they're the two main ingredients in my adrenal support tablets that my naturopath gave me, and it's literally like saved my life. Like, I can't even, it's one of those things that you don't believe until you've experienced and been through yourself, like an injury, like anything. I literally was like crash and burn, felt like I had nothing left in me when I was personal training 7 days a week, and I was doing the split shift, just what you guys do, teaching like 7 or 8 classes a day. And I did that for 6 months straight. And then that was when I developed the adrenal fatigue, and like training myself in between that.
What is that again?
Well.
What did you say? What was it? Ginseng and
ashwagandha. Yeah. So that, like, after I went and saw my naturopath, and she was like, yeah, I'll give you these, add health, like the little things. And it was like within 4 days, I just felt like a completely different person. I was like, oh my Lord. Like, so yeah,
that's cool.
herbs have helped me a lot.
Yeah, nice.
Whoa. Yeah.
I feel like there is so much to take in. Amazing.
Good.
Like the amount of knowledge, Jazz, you have is quite unbelievable. What are my big takeaways? Well, I've got loads of notes. I've got pages of notes.
That's awesome.
I find whenever we keep getting guests on here that they talk, and I just end up getting very engrossed into what they're saying, that I forget I'm actually on a podcast, and I feel like I'm just listening to one, and I'm like, oh, this is so good.
That's awesome.
So,
and then I'm like, oh wait, I need to ask questions, but it's too late. I'm
you
already.
know what? Ben, the thing with it,
2 minutes.
yeah, like I just think we listen, we take notes, and just let the experts talk about their field, and when it's we'll talk about our field soon. But
yeah, please.
Well,
I want to listen to you, like both of you do a podcast.
No, you don't. Honestly, I don't. I think we could call it a day just because there's so much already.
Yeah,
so, look,
totally.
Things that I've really found valuable. I really like the idea of the 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. block. I think that's something that we can really promote. And we all know getting workout or your health and fitness done in the morning is so important.
Absolutely.
And
it really
that definitely
is.
links into your I can't pronounce
Ayurveda.
Ayurveda. I knew it was Ayurveda. I definitely need everyone needs to just think about their caffeine.
Yeah.
That, like, we all know having too much caffeine or coffee definitely makes me anxious. I do get anxiety and the jitters from too much coffee. So I do know that matcha is a much more beneficial, but also a more like a nicer feeling.
Just a functional.
It's
a functional drink, isn't it? Like.
Yeah. So that's really cool.
Mentally and physically.
I think, power balls, great way to go.
Yeah.
There's just these really quick ideas. So it'd be really nice to see if any of our listeners do any of these things. Let us know how you do get on. I'm going to go and make some hummus tonight.
Cool.
Yeah, I think what I'd say for people is obviously there's a lot of information there. There's so much like stuff you can like implement and what you might not be doing already. But I think the main takeaway would be just, you know, take it easy, like try just substituting different things, experiment with it a little bit, but don't go absolutely mental and try and do it all at once, because it will
be a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah. So like start with one or two things that you might want to change.
There's a book called Average Sucks, which essentially is explaining that we all try and do too much too early, too soon. So if we do, let's just say exercise. I currently train 2 times a week. For me to do 4 or 5 times a week is not sustainable. So instead of me just jumping into this program, I'm going to do 5 sessions a week. Well, why don't you just do 1 month of 3 sessions a week? So I'm making that one single change. And it's always easier to add stuff than to take stuff away. So for me, like, why don't I add in making like power balls on a Sunday night, opposed to like take away or be like restrictive in any way. Just add in healthier options, like add in a matcha tea, take away a coffee, add in a matcha latte. But if we keep adding stuff and like having these small little changes over the time of a year, that's when we get better health or better fitness.
Yeah.
Not making these massive statements to do everything at once. Just because we get a lot of people running to us saying we need change, little by little, everyone.
Absolutely. One thing, just like a closing to kind of summarize all of that. I am such a strong believer in eating and exercising, like you were saying, and just living intuitively. So we all know what we need, but it's our ego that gets in the way, that says, no, I need that coffee. I need this. Like, we don't actually need it. And it's like listening to your body. And after you eat something or after you exercise, or just like acknowledging how that made you feel. Do you feel nourished? Do you feel like that was a really satisfying meal, or do you have an upset stomach? And did maybe that food not agree with you? And I think that's the best thing to kind of to be more aware of is being in tune with how you feel with exercising 5 or 2 times a week.
I think that's a great statement to end it on. Last thing though, where can people find you, Jazz? If they have any questions or anything, if they listen to the podcast, where can they find you?
Cool. So I'm probably most active on Instagram, and it's j.nourish, NOURISH. There you can find my website. You can go and check out my recipes. Feel free to hit me up anywhere and check out my books, whatever else.
Cool.
Guys,
thank you so much.
It's been wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you.
In a bit.
Cool.